Hi guys, this is Jen Curtis from Mummy Tummy Fitness, and I'm here to talk to you today about the third part of the pregnancy fitness series. And this video is going to focus on exercise selection. Which exercises should you be focusing on in the gym during your pregnancy? The first part of this series, I pretty much just talked about what not to do. The second part, I talked about strength training and the importance of it during pregnancy and kind of a bit of an intro into what it is. And this video, I'm going to talk about which exercises you should be doing during your pregnancy. So I see tons of women working out during their pregnancy, doing completely the wrong things. Tons of emphasis on abs, so like crunches and planks, and they're pretty much just wasting their time. Also things like that machine at the gym where you like the adduction machine where you push your knees together, things like that have kind of gotten really popularized, and women think that they should be doing to keep strong and fit, or to burn fat from their inner thighs. And it's all pretty much just a waste of time. So I want to help you maximize your time in the gym to get results. We need to be training during this time with a real focus on your pregnancy, on how to better cope with the physical demands of pregnancy and motherhood. And all of your training should be geared towards those goals of just like feeling better and stronger in your day-to-day life and coping with the specific demands of being pregnant and after birth. So that's what I want to focus on today. So let's dive right into it. So first of all, in terms of the physical demands of pregnancy and motherhood, we tend to forget this. We forget that like most women don't think about this in great detail. They don't realize how physically demanding pregnancy is going to be, especially in the later stages. And they don't realize how physically demanding motherhood then is. Even in the early stages when you've only got this tiny little baby. And it's so important to keep sight of this. Otherwise, our training is just random. You know, we're not training for a marathon won't help us cope with those demands. Doing tons of crunches won't help us cope with those demands. Doing kind of like 10 HIIT classes a week won't help us cope with those specific demands. But doing strength training on the right muscle groups with the right load will help us cope with those demands. So what are those demands? During pregnancy, the most obvious one is the weight gain. We are going to gain a significant amount of weight during the pregnancy, and in the last like couple of months, it's really a significant amount of weight that's been added to our body that we have to deal with. And there's a lot of focus on core and pelvic floor, and they obviously have to be kept in check. But what people forget is how much your legs need to keep up with that, how much your legs and glutes need to be strong to support that weight. That's our foundation, that's the base. And if your legs and your glutes are weak, quite often the pelvic floor has to like overcompensate and work really, really hard because those muscles aren't doing their job. So in exercise, if you have pelvic floor issues, you need to go and see a pelvic floor physio. But what we can do during exercise is keep those external muscles strong so that the internal muscles like pelvic floor don't have to overcompensate and work too hard. And you know, it's just super it's super functional for a pregnant woman. You know, she needs to get up and down out of chairs, sometimes up and down off the floor. She needs to get in and out of bed, in and out of cars. And that requires strong glutes and legs. And if we don't have strong glutes and legs, other muscles have to compensate for that. And we have to start creating awkward movement patterns, like thrusting our hips up out of a chair and using our arms to get out rather than actually using the legs and the glutes, which is what they're meant to do. So that should be a huge focus during training during pregnancy, and I'll get onto what exercises to do for those in a minute. The second thing is that a lot of that weight is now front loaded. It's coming forward because of the increased size of the abdomen and the boobies. So all of this weight is coming forward, and the muscles, so if I'm, if a woman's side on, if all this weight is coming forward, then what actually keeps us from falling forward is all the back muscles. This is our scaffolding. So we really want to keep a strong back. And when we talk about back, we want to keep we are talking about the intrinsic muscles, the multifidus and all the spinal erectors, but also just the external muscles, the traps, the rhomboids, the latissimus dorsi. All of those muscles are going to help keep a strong scaffolding that's going to keep us upright and in good alignment, and keep us feeling strong during our pregnancy. We still have to continue to lift things during pregnancy, and we need a strong back for that. Also, and then the core is the obvious one, but the way that most women train their core during pregnancy is not ideal. So just doing the traditional ab exercises of crunches and planks isn't very helpful. And what we want, the abdominal muscles are getting really stretched out, and we do need to keep them strong. But what we need to do is create central stability. We want a co-contraction of all of those teammates that are our core. So I've made a previous video about what the core is, and that's not just our abs. It's not just about abs. It's also about all the back muscles, the pelvic floor, and the diaphragm. We have this like Coke can closed system, pressure system. I've made another video about that. Go and check it out. We want a co-contraction of all of those teammates to create central stability while we create force outward of the body for pushing and pulling and standing up and things like that. So a great example of a core exercise that's good during pregnancy is a PALOFF press. I've made an entire core series, no crunch core series, that's more focused around postpartum, but it's definitely, a lot of that stuff is relevant during pregnancy as well. So that's the kind of specific physical demands of pregnancy. Now, the physical demands of motherhood is, okay, those 9 months are up, you go to the hospital, you have the baby, you go back home, and guess what? Like, your pelvic floor and your core has been weakened from, it's all been all stretched out during pregnancy, and then you've had to push a baby out of it, or you've had a C-section, so those abdominal muscles have been cut open to remove the baby. So in one way or another, that central stability system has been weakened, and you now have to spend hours on end nursing, if you're breastfeeding, nursing in a less than optimal alignment, where your upper back is likely to be rounded, your shoulders are going to be internally rotated, your head's going to be jutted forward, your bum's going to be tucked back, rounded, and the core just all kind of like collapsed in. And it's all well and good to tell women to stay in good alignment, rib cage over pelvis, but at 3 a.m, when you haven't had any sleep, and you're nursing a crying baby, and you're pacing up and down the room to like send it to sleep, you are going to put your body in whatever position is going to keep your baby most supported, and you're not going to be thinking about your alignment and trying to sit up and stand up straight. So as well intentioned as that advice is, it's not always practical when like in the moment, when just all hell is breaking loose. So you are going to be, it's just a fact, you are going to be in poor alignment and with rounded shoulders and so on and so forth for a large part of especially that 6-week postpartum window. And the muscles that we need to like hold that baby in our arms early on are biceps and back, upper back muscles. So loads of rowing variations to keep that strong, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then there's also just picking things up, picking up toys, picking up babies, picking up laundry baskets and shopping. Our lives as mothers, oftentimes also mums have, it's not your first baby, you've got a few others, and you might have like a 5-year-old who weighs 20 kilos who wants picking up. You're going to not pick them up. Women, even I was at a friend's celebration of her newborn baby the other day, and she was only a week postpartum, and she picked up I watched her pick up her 5-year-old during that celebration, who's like quite a large human being now. So women are picking things up even early stages postpartum. So it's really important that we train them in the gym and teach them how to pick things up and with their breath and with the correct alignment, and using the right muscles and keeping the right muscles strong in order to be able to cope with those demands. So that's kind of the outline of what you need, like the physical demands of pregnancy and motherhood, that a lot of women don't think about that coming into pregnancy, and it's not until it happens that it suddenly clicks. And many times it's not until months later that a woman comes to me saying like, oh, I need help because I'm feeling really weak and I need to get stronger. So the specific exercises that you should be focusing on, in terms of legs, most of our legs and glutes, because obviously they work together, the big bulk of what we should be doing, our kind of main focus, if we can, should be squats and deadlifts. And I've made an entire series on both of those movements, a kind of like a 6 or 8 part series on really like the technique and how to do them well and how to do them properly, and how to address mobility issues and things like that. So please use that resource. And then in terms of other, like sprinkling in different types of leg and glute exercises, I've made an entire glute series on this channel as well, with just ideas, we can use split squat variations, so like lunges, there's a whole bunch of different lunge variations, Bulgarian split squats. We should also be thinking about things like Romanian deadlifts, single leg deadlifts, stuff like that, single leg squats, we want those single leg variations. And then in terms of like really focused glute work, we want to focus on hip thrusts and glute bridges, and they're great for doing at home. We can do them with bands, we can do them with weights, we can do one leg variations, and then sprinkling in a little bit of abduction. So that machine at the gym where you push your knees together, flip the pads around the other way and push them apart. That's abduction, taking the knees apart from one another. Those Jane Fonda type exercises, they're also good for like sprinkling in here and there. If you want to know everything about glute development, gluteus maximus, and how to train the glutes and keep the glutes strong and the legs strong, I really recommend that you check out BRET Contreras. He's doing a PhD on glute development, and his website and his YouTube channels, all his resources, free resources, paid resources, are all amazing in terms of learning about how to train the glutes and the legs, and way better than any resources that I've made on this topic. He's pretty much considered industry-wide the expert on this area, so please check out his stuff. So that's the kind of glutes and the legs. It's done in terms of back and biceps, because it also works as a like all these pulling variations. It's a muscle group. We want to focus on things like TRX rows, ring rows, horizontal pulling variations, low rows. We can use one arm variations with dumbbells or kettlebells. Bent over rows. That should be a big bulk of our training program, and those muscles will help us cope with both the belly coming forward, and then in the early stages postpartum of holding on to a newborn. And then in terms of core, focus on, I said this before, just focus on those exercises that create core, that create a co-contraction of all the core muscles and stability at the core while we create movement outwards of the body. And I've also made I'm not going to go into that in a huge amount of depth. I'll make a different video on that. That's a whole other topic. In terms of aesthetics, because up until now we've really talked about function, and I put a huge emphasis with my trainees on feeling good and functioning well and being healthy, and that's extremely important. And I'm going to continue to put that forward as that should be your priority. But we all want to look good, and with correct training, we can function well and look good. So I am going to touch on that shallower side of it, because it is a huge concern of all of us. So why not talk about it? Again, endless crunches and planks are what most women do to kind of, because they're so scared of of losing their flat belly and whatever. Your core is going to stretch, your abdominal muscles are going to stretch, that you're going to have a pregnant belly, like it or not. So leave your core alone. What's going to give you the biggest bang for your buck in terms of aesthetics, what people are going to see first of all, especially if you're in a hotter climate like I am, is shoulders and arms. And people are going to see this part of you much more than they're going to see your core, or they're going to see anything else. And it's really, really easy to keep the arms kind of toned, as much as I hate that word, and muscular, and looking good. Just working on that shoulder boulder, just some overhead press variations, maybe just one dumbbell at a time. You can do this seated, you can do this kneeling, you can do it standing. Some lateral raises and some upright rows, just some shoulder boulder work, and then some bis and tris. The second advantage of this kind of stuff is it's super light work, just a little bit sprinkling in some bodybuilder style work. It's super duper, you're using really light weights relatively. So even I train women right up to term, and sometimes in those last couple of weeks, they're feeling really heavy and really sluggish, and they just want the baby out now, and they want to keep fit, but everything just jacks their heart rate up so high, and they need to rest. So this is a great time to just maintain that shoulder boulder and bis and tris. It doesn't jack their heart rate in the same way, and doesn't make you feel as exhausted as doing squats and deadlifts. It's still important to keep doing those movements if you can, but you'll need to reduce it when you get into those last couple of months of pregnancy. And you can do a whole bunch. You can just sitting in a chair, you can do a whole bunch of work with some light weights, and it will elevate your heart rate enough to give you that cardiovascular response, and it will help maintain muscle mass, and it will help maintain muscle mass in the places that people will see. So I really recommend just learning to love some bodybuilding isolation style work. I generally tend to promote compound movements and getting the biggest bang for your buck, but this stuff also has a place, and learning how to sprinkle it into your regime throughout your pregnancy can be really, really helpful. And with minimal equipment, you can do it at home too, so you don't necessarily need a gym subscription in order to do that. So that's pretty much it for me today. This is a pretty long video, so if you're still with me, well done. Just a quick review of the contents is that this video was focusing on which exercises you should do, bum, back, and legs. That should be the focus of your training during pregnancy. Keep strong, keep fit, and to keep up with the demands of pregnancy and motherhood. So if you like this video, please send it to a friend who is pregnant and who would benefit from this information. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to hit subscribe. I'll be posting lots more videos with this kind of content over the coming months. So that's it from me today. Any questions, post in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer and help you stay fit and safe and strong during your pregnancy.